Hey everybody, welcome to Jacob's Quest, and today we have a brand new rumor that the Mandalorian characters, including Ahsoka, are rumored to come to join the Disney parks, Galaxy's Edge. This is something that I've seen all over the internet, and people are, they're all over the place with it. Of course, every side of this fandom is trying to put some kind of a narrative twist to this in a way that, no, this means this, and this means I win, and no, if they do this, this is horrible because of this. Anyways, let's just get to what the actual report is. This guy named Jim Hill, who I've never heard of, on the Disney Dish podcast, which I've also never heard of, and I'm only saying this to let you guys know that I don't know the actual record of these guys. I don't know how reliable this kind of report is because I've never heard of this before. But anyways, let's look at their actual quotes of what they really said, because even this article kind of tries to paint things in a narrative of their own kind of interpretation of exactly what they're trying to say here. But here's exactly what he says. He says, "We should anticipate seeing meet and greet opportunities with Mando and the child. Likewise, Boba Fett will start making appearances, also Ahsoka Tano." Then he says, "Disney has done this. If they have a hit show, they will fold it into the parks and help drive attendance." Next he says, "Kylo Ren does exist in the Mandalorian universe. He may be 4 years old, but he does exist. And the thinking right now is that, yes, last year guests were excited thereabouts to have Kylo Ren and Rey walking around in Galaxy's Edge, but in a situation like this, where if they were to do something like, say, have Kylo Ren's shuttle disappear and suddenly the Razor Crest is sitting there parked, that would go from, oh, that's interesting, to holy cow, where's the line? How do I get my picture taken with the child?" End quote. So, again, a lot of the rest of this article is kind of, interpreting all of that in their own way, but the gist of it is that his actual rumor that he's suggesting is that these characters will be walking around, and the part about the ship being switched into the Razor Crest is more of a, for example, of what could happen, not really part of the actual rumor he's putting out there. So, just to clear that up. And overall, this is something that I think we all should have seen coming, and it's kind of obvious that it would happen, right? I know a lot of people have different feelings about this, and for example, the people who have made it their entire personality to hate the sequels, and they're shaking their fist at them 24/7. They're taking this as some kind of oh, this proves we win because the sequels are being taken out of the parks and it's over, which, well, first, they're wrong. That's not happening. The sequels are not being taken out of the parks. And second, it's okay, and look, don't get me wrong, if you don't like the sequels, that's fine, they're just movies, but okay, what is, okay, you won some victory, I guess, whatever. The other thing about this is that when Galaxy's Edge came out, they kind of said it as this, oh, it's this very specific time period between Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, and it's totally canon, and you're living in the canon universe as it is on this specific set of 3 days, I think it is. And that is one thing that okay, that's neat, but I've always found that to be probably the most bendable of all of the aspects of the park. I enjoy that it's not a planet that we've ever heard of, because that gives them a lot more wiggle room as to what can be where and how they can kind of mess with the design of the park. But the whole oh, it's very strictly this part of canon, and on one hand it's cool, on the other hand it's very restricting. It's kind of limiting as to what you would be able to do then, right? And a lot of people are kind of pointing out that hey, Mandalorian takes place 25 years before this park, or at least these 3 days happen in the park, so how can this happen? I've always found that will be the first thing to go, to be honest with you guys. The whole very strict canon will eventually be gone, I think, entirely, if only because, look, the truth is, they came out with this park. They set it within the sequel trilogy, and once the sequel trilogy ends, which it since has, it's like, okay, but now what? You know, because you're gonna keep on making movies, you're gonna keep on making shows, you're gonna introduce new characters that people are gonna want to see, and they're gonna want to buy that new merchandise because it's the new thing. So it's never, you know, common sense should tell you, like, okay, well then it's not very sensical to like keep it so strictly in the sequel trilogy. You're gonna want to expand it, you know, you're gonna want to move on. Not in the sense that you're literally tearing everything from the sequels down, but just in the sense of like, okay, you have to add new stuff. You know, I want to buy the new shirt, I want to buy the new action figure, you want to see the new character walking around because that's the movie you just saw. So that's always gonna be a thing. That I think they know this. You know, that was always gonna happen at some point. You know, so again, the people who are taking this as some kind of victory, it's like, it's just a thing that was always gonna happen. It's very common sense could have told you this. You know, so it's a very strange thing to act like this shouldn't even be surprising. You know, this is what I'm trying to say. So I know that this guy, you know, everyone's treating this like a scoop or some kind of, you know, big rumor, but it's like, this is more of just a common sense thing that was kind of gonna happen eventually anyways, right? It's not much of a scoop, really. In any case, so yeah, I'm absolutely fine with them kind of bending or even just breaking that canon rule, really, you know, of like acting like the park has to be in this very specific time means you can't have Darth Vader walking around, you can't have whatever other character walking around at the same time as a different character. And I feel like that's been like the major drawback. Break that and suddenly you can do whatever you want. Literally, you can just put any character in there that people might want to see. That's great. So, but anyone that's scared out there that like, oh, this means they're erasing the sequels and you know, you don't want the sequel stuff to leave, I can tell you right now, while there are some parts, like the First Order building, it's like a whole First Order area, some of that can kind of easily be, you know, repainted over into like a standard stormtrooper, like a classical stormtrooper area, or maybe even a different bad guy. You know, it's like change out a couple of banners, repaint a couple of walls, and bam, it's a brand new area, right? So like that kind of thing I imagine will evolve over time. There are other things like the giant ride that it cost millions of dollars and has only been open not even 2 years yet. You know, the Rise of the Resistance ride. That ride is so heavily steeped in the sequel trilogy, from the way that you get on talking to sequel characters, to the design of the ship, to the stormtroopers that are on the ride, to the giant walkers that are sequel trilogy walkers. Everything about that ride is sequel trilogy, and it's not just a couple of banners. It is props and animatronics that would cost millions of dollars to replace. And the fact that it's only not even been 2 years should tell you, you know, again, just common sense, like, okay, that ride is not going anywhere. So this idea that other people are putting out there that sequel trilogy is being like flushed out of the park is ridiculous. That makes no monetary sense at all. That's not going to happen. What's going to end up happening, though, you know, there's going to be a blend. I think they're definitely going to break that canon rule. They're going to be like, okay, fine, the park's, whatever, the 3 days that it's supposed to be set between these two movies, that's gone. Just here, on these days, the Mandalorian characters can walk around. On these days, the sequel trilogy characters walk around. And on these days, the original trilogy characters walk around. You know, they'll probably do stuff like that. And then maybe they'll just eventually just start, you know, mashing them all together at some point. And I honestly have no problem with that. It doesn't make sense, like, just business wise and marketing wise. It's like different generations of fans want to see different stuff, you know, and that's okay, right? Give the fans what they want. You know what, some fans want to see Kylo Ren walking around. Other fans want to see Darth Vader walking around. And if you can just have them there in the park, just do it. Like, why would you not? You know, it's a park. We don't. So that's my one thing about it, is like this whole idea of it, like it's canon and it's very strictly here. That's the first thing that has to go, and I think it's obvious that it will at this point. And yeah, I'm fine with that. I think it makes all the sense in the world. And obviously, Mandalorian has been hugely successful. Everyone wants to see Ahsoka, and imagine the line, like this guy said, imagine the line for Baby Yoda's picture. That will be the biggest line in the entire park, to get a picture with Baby Yoda. So, you know, they'll have it like on a remote control little cradle thing, and it can be like going around, and the Mandalorian standing right next to it. It just makes too much sense to not happen. You know, that I think it's really cool. It's definitely going to happen eventually. And like I said, another movie's going to come out, and there's going to be more stuff they want to add. And then another trilogy happens, and then another show happens. And as time passes, the park will have to evolve, because that's typically what happens with parks. They change, they evolve. Little things are added here and there and there, and then it's been 30 years and the park looks very different now, because that's what's supposed to happen. That's how the park survives. You know, it has to change and evolve. So I don't think anyone needs to be disheartened or something because the sequel trilogy might not be like the main focus of the park anymore. I think that's inevitable. The trilogy ended. What do you want them to do? You know, like they have to put new stuff out there. So the only option really is to, you know, put stuff that's not from the sequel trilogy. Mandalorian's the biggest thing now. Put the Mandalorian out there. And then maybe Rogue Squadron becomes this huge hit. Then next thing you know, everything is X-Wing pilots, right? So it's gonna be an ever-evolving thing. And that just, it makes sense. So, you know, both sides of this crazy thing, the side that's like, ha, we won, the sequels are destroyed, you know, and then the other side who, you know, they're kind of getting disheartened that like, oh, they're ruining Galaxy's Edge. No, you know, I don't think it's that drastic at all. I think it's just something that was always going to happen. And plus, imagine the commercial, you know, just imagine you're like in the marketing team for Disney World, right? Imagine the commercial that's coming out, and it's like, okay, this, you know, I think the parks are technically open, but you know, the real reopening after the pandemic's over, and you have like, and now Baby Yoda there, you know, and like that starts your commercial. Come to Galaxy's Edge, Baby Yoda and the Mandalorian walking towards the screen. Cut to black. There you go. You sold 10 kabillion tickets just then, because everyone wants to go see that. So it just makes sense. It's, yeah, like obviously it's gonna happen. Now, when will it happen? You know, who knows? I can even imagine them trying to do like a shop. They'll probably add some of the, what is that drink? The blue drink, spotchka? Is that it? They'll probably add that stuff to the menu if it's not already there. You know, a lot of Mandalorian stuff will start like seeping into the park. You know, and this is just what they'll do. It makes, you know, anyways. So yeah, let me know what you think about this. Are you sad that they'll kind of break the whole canon part of the park? Or do you not care about that and you think like, yeah, this is a great thing that they're doing this? Let me know how you feel, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye.